Lady Susan? Lady Susan Vernon?
How dare you address me, sir?
Lady Susan?
Be gone, sir. I will have you whipped.
Outrageous. Have you never met him?
No, I know him well. I would never speak to a stranger like that.
Welcome back to Film Ireland on this special 4th of July edition. It won't be the 4th of July when you hear it, but it is when we're recording it, so insert firework noises here. I am still Richard Drum, and I'm once again joined by...
Sarah Clue. Yes.
Good not knowing your own name there, which may be a recurring theme this episode, or not. Anyway, starting off with sad news. Many people died in the last few weeks. I suppose the biggest one, maybe not the biggest one, but probably the most high-profile one in terms of how shocking it was Anton Yelchin, who we were just talking about last episode about Green Room, and he was... it's still a bit unclear what happened. He was pinned by his own car because the car he had was part of a recall. And did you hear that? No,
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, like he left his car in neutral, or he did put the handbrake on, I'm not sure which, whatever it was. There was a news report afterwards that line had been recalled.
Oh my god, no.
So there was some defect with the brakes anyway, and then he got pinned against his own mailbox and died at 27, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So part of the 27 club. I mean, out of all the celebrity deaths in the last year, that one kind of hit me the weirdest, because when I first started getting into movies, I remember like he was one of the first actors I latched onto. Going, this is a nice up and coming guy, seems cool, and now he's like, oh, he's dead. But yeah, I think Star Trek is going to be his last thing then, I guess. Or had he made anything else that wasn't released yet? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I think it is. Which, yeah, I mean, for me, like, he was the best part of the new...
I think a lot of people would say that.
I mean, it feels like now we're just saying it because he's dead now, but like genuinely, that's the reason I went back to watch them. So
I think that's the reason I saw it in the first place. I never actually cared about Star Trek as a kid. I was like, I like him, I like Quinto. Yeah, because a lot of people have been rewatching his movies obviously since then, and I think people are forgetting just stuff like, do you see, was it Like Crazy?
No.
Where it's him, Felicity Jones, Jennifer Lawrence, like all these people that are now huge in this like weird little depressing rom-com, just romance, I suppose. But a lot of good movies, a lot of ones he didn't get to make. What would your single film recommendation be for a Yelchin retrospective?
I don't know. I actually don't know that I've seen that many of, like, last week actually we were talking about last month rather, Fright Night. Yeah, I really enjoyed that Fright Night, but I actually, to be honest, I mean, maybe only seen him in 3 or 4 movies.
Okay, yeah.
I've seen a lot of his stuff.
I know he was in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I didn't know that until someone posted on Twitter. I was like, oh my god, like the kind of 12-year-old him. And then he was in that movie with Morgan Freeman about the kidnappings. Along Came a Spider, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, he's probably been in movies for longer than he hasn't been, which is weird. Like, he's only...
Now that you said, that's very philosophical. Yes, I can't really argue with that fact. Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, if you hadn't seen it, I'd probably say watch Like Crazy. I do think Odd Thomas is not a bad one.
Okay.
Ever read the book or anything?
No.
That's a weird movie that, because when it didn't get released was the problem, because there was some weird marketing tax dodge or something, and the producers all fell out and didn't get distribution, and it got cut down. 50 Cent was supposed to be in it, but I think his entire film sequence was cut out. But Willem Dafoe's in it, Patton Oswalt's in it. It's not a bad movie. It's okay. Yeah. Anyways, that's the first of the death notices for this month. Famed director of The Wicker Man, Robin Hardy, also died, which... Some of these people you kind of think, oh, they were still alive. Like, Wicker Man feels like it's ancient. Like, it was probably the mid-70s, wasn't it, really?
Okay, yeah.
And I think he'd planned to finish off his Wicker trilogy. Did you hear about this?
No.
There's a second Wicker Man film, kind of, not the remake with Nick Cage, called The Wicker Tree, which I watched recently enough. It's not bad. It's a group of, like, puritanical Christian rock sort of singers that go to basically Summer Isle again. And it's the same, just ritual nonsense. But it's not got a Wicker Man at the end. It's something else. I can't remember now what it is. But it's not bad. Christopher Lee has a very brief cameo in it, very badly CGI'd in. He was supposed to be in this as the same character again, but he'd broken his back or something. Or not broken his back, injured his back shooting some... What was the Hammer horror film a few years ago?
There was a one recently?
Yeah, that was something to do with... I feel like Door was in the title. Couldn't tell you. Okay. Anyway, he injured himself on that, couldn't do it. But I think Robin Hardy had wanted to make a third one and finish off his after the fact Wicker trilogy. Not that I needed to, I don't think, because The Wicker Man stands out on its own as this like great piece of faux horror cinema, and the sequel is fine. It's probably better than the remake was, but yeah, no, that's a sad one. Also, another prolific filmmaker, of course, the maker of The Deer Hunter and Heaven's Gate, which I will say, for my shame, I have not seen either of, but I've heard they're both great and very influential. Also dead. Same day, I think. And then, of course, we also had, what's her name from the royal family?
Caroline Aherne.
Yes. Who, she was very young, actually, 52, I think.
Yeah, 53 possibly, yeah.
Something, very low numbers anyway. It's been a rough old year, and it's only July.
Yeah. I'm quite, well, obviously, it's really, really sad, but I'm also very sad because I, love the royal family, and the last episode, which is a Christmas episode, ended on a cliffhanger in which one of the family members had gone into labour, and then it was, what's going to happen next? That was about 3 years ago. I have a feeling we're never going to get a finale or a conclusion to that story.
If they have Marvel money, they could probably do it. Look what you can do with CGI now, with like fake Robo Robert Downey Jr.
That's it. And
I assume that show was... Yeah. I thought that show knew when it was ending, though. Like, they had planned out the end. I never really watched it. I saw a couple episodes and hated it, but that's just as me.
I'm not sure, actually. I mean, the Christmas specials were one-offs.
Right.
So, I think the show itself had probably finished 8 years before or something. And the Christmas specials were actually never up to the same standard, but they were always fun, and sad to think there'll be no more.
I mean, they could do more, just to have her like died off screen. That happens now and again.
She also wrote a lot of the stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, herself, and her husband in the show was also her writing partner, and so I mean, he could.
I know who you mean. I also can't think of his name either.
There we go. This is the non-name episode.
No, truly. I suppose moving on from death to a different kind of death, Game of Thrones finished, and Sarah, you've always struck me as someone that didn't really care for Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. You just hate everything that's popular.
Fair enough. I mean,
but no, I'd say like we discussed this like at various points in real life, and I always get the impression that you're like, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in a way I maybe aren't as crazy about them as some people, but I think that's because I've read all the books and...
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I've lived with it longer than a lot of people.
Okay.
So I also kind of hate some of the fandom around it.
That is very fair. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. It's a weird... I remember when this show first started off, I'd never heard of the books before the show started, and it kind of came out of nowhere, and I assumed like, it's some real dry fantasy, like dark fantasy thing, bleh. And then it got really popular, and then just kept going, and eventually I think we all got sucked into it. But I don't get why it got so popular, why it's still so popular. I really thought it would have fallen off, especially like last season was pretty dire. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Like, it is really hard to put your finger on it in a way.
Because the books were kind of a cult thing long before the show started, and like cult things don't often translate well into adaptation, so it's very odd. But as someone who's read the books, what do you think? Because they're kind of caught up now, aren't they? I know they're ahead of it also, but they're also I think as far as they can catch up, they've caught up and then also surpassed it, obviously. But how are things stacking up?
There's some things that that the show does a lot better than the books. Like for one thing, the books at this stage, they're so boring a lot of the time. It's because they're obviously waiting for certain narrative threads to catch up with each other. So Tyrion has been feeling sorry for himself and drinking himself to death for 2 books.
Oh, good.
So it's nice to know that's not happening so much in the show, for example. But then other things that I think the show hasn't done very well at all. I think particularly maybe this season that it's sort of like, I think especially in the last couple of episodes, the show just decided to go for good guys versus bad guys, and that's really not what the books were about at all.
You see, I can't fault that, but at the same time, I feel like the reason the show was so strong at first is because it was just shades of grey. But they killed everyone off. So all that's left now are the archetypical villains and heroes, I feel. Like, that's why I was really happy when Jon Snow got stabbed last season. Like, yes, because I can't stand him because he's such a boring, bland, clearly the hero. So I was happy when he was killed. Yeah. Of course, he wasn't staying dead.
Sure, but I mean, but that also could be a criticism, that they do just... Like, at this stage, killing people isn't actually like exciting.
No, it's
anymore.
not at all. Because I think past maybe season 4, arguably season 3, you won't let yourself get invested anymore because you know what the show's going to do. So it's pointless to like anybody.
Yeah, that's it. You are sort of able to admire an author who will take a beloved character and get rid of them before you expect them to go. But at the same time, there's also narrative threads that are just stopped, and sometimes you, not even that you want to, but you kind of feel like the show needs to follow those through to their conclusions rather than cut them off in their prime.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt that happened a little bit with the finale, but
Specifics, go on. We can spoil here, I think.
Okay. I mean, I would have liked to see a lot more of Marjorie.
Yeah, that was a bit of a fuck you one, all right.
Because, like, I know obviously she's part of the bigger, like, Thorns, or what's the family called? The Tyrells.
Tyrells, sorry, yes.
I know it's the Tyrell storyline, but she had a very specific MO and a very specific way of going about that. And I'm glad her grandmother is still around to, like, pick up the pieces. But having said that, like, she was a really interesting character. I would have liked to see more of what she was doing. It's not going to happen, I assume.
Unless they make her Lady Stoneheart instead and bring her back. But yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, I feel like I never thought she'd make it out of the show alive because she was too likable. She was too good. Like, she's not like a quote unquote like outright good guy, but she was on the side of good by and large. Like, she was manipulative and whatnot, but it never seemed as vicious or as cruel as someone like Cersei.
Yeah, I guess not. But, like, who knows? Like, as in, like, every character seems to have another motive behind their motive.
That's true. Yeah.
So she could have been the most dangerous of all. But
I think she was very dangerous. That's probably why she was killed off, really, by certain, like, narrative speaking. But I just feel like I think the show, because I haven't read the books, so I don't know how they really do Cersei in the books. I feel like the show made a mess of it by not giving us that flashback to her, young her getting the prophecy from not Ava Green in that shack, because that for me completely changed how I looked at that character. Because I didn't mind Cersei in the first 2 seasons as sort of like a pantomime villain, but then by season 3 or so, she was just so needlessly cruel and just so evil for evil's sake that it got really boring and really irritating. But then once you knew her backstory, it all made sense. Like, once you knew, like, yes, she was prophesized to lose all her children and that she'd be usurped by Marjorie or whoever, younger queen, then suddenly all of her actions made sense and were entirely relatable to the point that I now absolutely love her. I want her to win. I know she can't win because she has to get stabbed by Jaime, but like, that last scene of her getting crowned was amazing. I was so on board with that. And, like, yes, I don't care about Dany. Dany's boring. I never liked Jon Snow, so I am 100% on Cersei's team at this point. Please let her kill everybody.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, it's similar as well with I can't even think of her name. The Catelyn Stark. Like, in the books, like, it's just sort of like she spend. Well, to be honest, it's not even that much better in the show, but it's a bit better when they have her talk about how she prayed to the gods that Jon Snow would survive. Yeah, it's like, at least, holy shit, she actually does care about him. In the books, she's just a horrible, horrible human being.
Really? Oh, she's like my favorite character till she dies. That's really upsetting to hear.
Like, no, I mean, in a lot of ways, you do root for her or whatever because she's like, she's the Stark or whatever. But, like, it's just, she for some reason, for not a very well explained reason, she loathes this baby, this child.
Well, that comes across in the show too, but I always feel like they tempered it a bit, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, like, listen, they do have that little bit of tempering that you don't get in the books. So, like, like, the show definitely has merits. And I think there's a few things that, like, George R. R. Martin said, if he was writing the books again, he would have taken it on from the show.
Oh, yeah.
So it was quite interesting to know.
That's just weird, though, because you'd feel like in a medium like television, that's where you get the more one-dimensional Catelyn Stark, whereas the book with internal monologue shouldn't have that problem. That's very weird. Yeah. Because the only chapter of hers I really read is I read the Red Wedding chapter just for the crack, and I did not like any of it because the Red Wedding in the book, she goes like full-on insane. Which is fair enough, what she's seeing happening to her family, but like she's like cackling and just laughing and she dies, whereas the show is much more reserved, just crying, and that's good. I like that. I like women crying. It makes me happy. No, I'm joking.
In their place.
But yeah, no, I just loved the Cersei bit. It was like Lady Macbeth, but if Lady Macbeth got the crown in the end instead of Macbeth, like, that's what I've always wanted from that character. So that was great. And also seeing a giant explosion happen was pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am actually looking forward to season 7, which I didn't think I would be, because season 5, 4, oh god, 5? What are we on now? 6? That was 6.
So, yes.
Yeah, so 5 put me off everything, because it was needless rape, needless death, the burning of a child for no reason, which got vaguely addressed a little bit. Just, yeah, hopefully the last season will be good. I still think it's going to sap out in the ending.
Probably because for one thing,
well, as you said, like it's all heroes and villains now. So
yeah, it's a bit all heroes and villains, but also, I mean, I think most of the dedicated, obsessed, to put a whatever word for them, they already know how it's going to end. You know, like you can go and read fan theories and they're probably 100% true or 100% correct, which is not like a bad thing, but it just kind of means like whatever happens, everyone's going to be like, yeah, we knew it. We knew they're coming.
Yeah, I was curious who would react to the revelation that fan theory proved true of John's parentage. Because I felt like, on the one hand, you'd be like, oh, yes, we all knew it was coming. On the other hand, like, oh. Yeah. Like, there's no surprise there now. It's just, yeah, no, it's still a pretty okay show, I suppose.
Yeah, that's definitely
wavering thumbs up. From one slightly meh thing to another. You have not heard it, but I think everyone else has. The Ghostbusters tie-in song. As you all know, we here at Film Ireland are cautiously optimistic / willing to give benefit of the doubt to Ghostbusters 2016 until we've seen it. Oh, yes. That said, every step of the way in this marketing campaign and lead up has been them repeatedly shooting themselves in the foot. The song is dreadful. I think if they hadn't bothered trying to recreate the original chorus line, the whole, you're going to call stuff, it wouldn't be as bad. The fact that they did do it and did it worse, strike one. Strike two, Fall Out Boy featuring Missy Elliott. If it was just Fall Out Boy or just Missy Elliott, like, that's a bit dated, but fine. Why those two? Like, what is the connection between those two things? It's some bizarre, like, mid-noughties attempt at synergy for, I can't tell who it's for. It's like, what audience is that combination of? It screams made by committee. And it's a really bad song too. It's not a terrible song. It's kind of, the beat's catchy enough once you listen to it about 5 times, but the first time I heard it, I had to turn it off once I hit the Missy Elliott rap bridge, because it just comes, Fall Out Boy, you know what they sound like. So just to cut from that to what sounds like a 12-year-old girl screaming, Ghostbusters, and then into Missy Elliott rapping, it feels like a bad parody of itself. But the movie might be okay.
Definitely. I mean, I'm just wondering, now that you're saying that, is it sort of what's the word, like a make piece? Is it a token towards the angry mid-30s fanboys who
like making them worse?
Fall Out Boy in their childhood's teenage years.
Did they? I thought Fall Out Boy had a. Were you a fan of Fall Out Boy, Sarah?
No, not really.
No, me neither. It was very kind of like. Was there a phrase for not quite emo but emo? Like, I know emos are to goths, but Fall Out Boy are to emos. Yeah. Like, it was very sort of superficial level. Kind of hot topics. But without anything behind it.
Yeah.
Just empty aesthetics. But I don't know. But Missy Elliott was cool. People liked her, still like her. Why is she? What is happening? I don't understand this movie. The third trailer is pretty good, though. I kind of laughed at that. Exactly. I think it's out in a week. This day week, actually, I think it's out soon. So it'll soon be over, finally. Yeah. Unless they announce a sequel before it gets released, which would be really funny. So that's Ghostbusters. Still hoping it'll not be terrible. At this point, I've reserved myself for the fact that it'll probably be, at best, passable. And at worst, truly, truly terrible.
I mean, yeah, it can't get worse than terrible, so got that covered.
It can't get worse than terrible. That's...
I hope.
Wow. Optimism. We don't need segues, but I feel obliged to make segues. Okay. So from corporate nonsense to more corporate nonsense, you informed me before we started, Captain America crossed $1 billion.
Yeah,
which
congratulations.
Wasn't surprising.
No, not at all.
That's why it took this long, really. Like, that's what, 3 months now of release? 2 months?
Yeah. You know, had to wait its turn, I suppose. Yeah, actually, could you guess what other 5 superhero movies have made it past the $1 billion mark?
Dark Knight Rises, Avengers 1, Winter Soldier.
Ooh, actually, I don't think Winter Soldier did.
I'm certain it did.
Okay, maybe it did, and I'm wrong. I have written down, I don't have that one written down, but I may have taken it. I thought it was Iron Man 3.
No, that did too, yeah.
Yeah.
Did Dark Knight 1? Dark Knight, I think it did, didn't it? Yeah. What's that for?
So,
I'm missing one. Hang on. Is the last one Marvel?
Yes. I think you're...
Guardians.
No, you're overthinking it.
Go for it. I don't know.
Ultron.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of the ones you'd guess, I think, except for if you guessed Winter Soldier. Yeah, I'm probably wrong. I probably took it down wrong. Yeah. So well done, Captain. Done it again.
On this 4th of July, your day, I guess.
That's it. He planned it. He planned it that way.
Yeah, nothing to say there. You just good job, capitalism.
Yeah,
I mean, okay. Let's be realistic about this. Is that a bad thing that movie made that much money? Like, I know you weren't totally hot on it, but
you know, I think it is just sort of. It's just inevitable, you know.
Yeah. It does feel weird, doesn't it? Like that we're in an era now where making $1 billion is just sort of a. It's nice if you do it, but it's not particularly monumental.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what the budget was? It was probably like
Winter Soldier or Civil War.
A third
it
of
couldn't
that
have
or
been that
something.
high. I think it would have been around 200 to 250.
Okay. Yeah.
But then there's also that kind of skewing thing where they're like, well, marketing costs are more than that, and so it's probably in total closer to half a billion.
Okay.
I'd say.
So yeah, I mean, it's like we double our money. Or maybe tripled, but like.
The rule's always 3 times your budget to break even, so it did that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Batman v Superman didn't make it there in the end, which is really surprising in terms of before the movie came out, everyone going, well, of course it's going to make $1 billion. It's 2 of the most like iconic IPs and, you know, anything. So of course, money. And then it didn't because everyone absolutely hated it. Actually, yeah, the Ultimate Edition, came out last week, I think, or the other day. I've heard it's fine. If you like the movie, you'll like this. If you don't like the movie, you won't be convinced. So good. Yeah.
The thing I overheard people saying was, it explains more. It's like, okay, because the movie shouldn't have done that the first time around. Cool.
It's so frustrating because the couple of scenes I have seen from the Ultimate Edition is like 40-second long scenes that cover massive plot holes that I feel like the film could have dealt with an extra 3 minutes just to cover a few of those things. But no. Someone jokes in a different podcast that they should release not an R-rated cut, but like a G-rated cut where Batman doesn't kill everybody, which would have been nice.
Yes.
Because I think the R-rated cut, I don't remember this shot being in the real movie where he like throws a giant crate at someone, which then knocks that guy against the wall, and then you just see like his head like burst open and bleed everywhere. Like, wow, that's hilarious, but also not that character. Actually, that's kind of newsworthy. Yeah, they did the Justice League set visits last 2 weeks ago, I think, which is unusual because that movie is still shooting and isn't out until the end of 2017, and it just screams damage control that they're like, because I know people like, you know, Devin Faraci.
I don't think so. Tell me.
Sort of known internet person.
Oh, okay.
You know, at the website, what's it called? Birth, Movies, Deaths?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it's called. I think he's like one of the main guys in that one. He's one of those figures that most people hate, but also a lot of people love because he's, you know, he has very insightful things about the industry, but he's also very opinionated and whatever. But he was famously very vocally against the movie and wrote like tons of like think pieces about why it misses the point of all the characters and why it's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But he was one of the ones invited to the press visit, and his sort of thoughts were very optimistic and kind of like, well, clearly they listened to everyone giving out about it and have made changes and like tried to lighten the tone. And it's so, I you know what? Okay, I'm excited again for Justice League, so good. Yeah. But yeah, no, this is a fascinating mess of a production cycle. I think the whole Warner Brothers thing. But I suppose Warcraft is kind of in a similar vein, isn't it?
Yeah. Indeed.
Haven't seen it. You haven't seen it either. Let's talk about it.
All right.
It made some money and got some middling reviews.
Yeah. No.
Good job, Duncan Jones.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I haven't seen it because I don't want to give it money, really. But at the same time,
agreed.
I am also quite intrigued.
It's less about money for me and more just I feel I'd be really bored.
Okay, yeah.
I feel I'd be really bored.
Quite possible. The thing that kind of interests me is I heard people saying that, there's a good and bad side to it. Like, it throws you in. It doesn't really explain anything. I kind of admire that because, like, so many movies are just the first 3 minutes is voiceover explaining every facet of the world, or just characters explaining their relationships to each other. So I do admire that a movie, especially like a fantasy movie, is just like, look, let them figure it out. But at the same time, obviously, too much of that and it's going to alienate you. So I don't know.
Yeah, that is the weird problem with this one. Like, I think we're hitting an interesting era of video game movie adaptations where like Assassin's Creed's coming soon and that one might be okay, but like the main criticism I have heard about Warcraft is that where most films fall down in this genre is that a genre? I suppose it is. Is that they deviate too much from the source material. Look at, the Tomb Raider movies, or the amazing recent Hitman movie, which was just the most balls out acid trip movie I've seen in a long time. Not Hitman, but amazing. Whereas this, I keep hearing, is just so impenetrable. If you don't know the Lorecraft War, that is not how those words work.
But it's nearly there, and it sounds kind of good.
You know what I mean? If you don't know that, like you said, you'll be totally lost. And I gotta agree with you. I like movies that don't necessarily feel the need to handhold you. Like, I will be the first person to say I didn't like Lord of the Rings much as a kid. I kind of got annoyed at Game of Thrones early on and tried reading the books, same reason, because I can't stand being tossed a ton of names and locations and dates and not knowing the context. At the same time, especially superhero movies, I think you get fatigued with the opening, like you said, the opening prologue always being a sort of a Thor of the Dark World, Anthony Hopkins voiceovering just a nonsense, completely pointless battle sequence. So I don't know. I just feel like Duncan Jones, I still like you a lot. I still watch anything else you make. I might leave this one until it's on TV or something, but because everyone said it's just this vacuous nonsense, and then Mark Kermode of all people was like, I don't know Warcraft, I don't care about Warcraft, but it's still very Duncan Jonesy. Like, it's all about fathers and sons, and I suppose if you watched it with the mindset of Bowie dying, it maybe wouldn't be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I presume it was in
would
production
have
long
been
before.
Yeah.
But having said that,
well, even that, he has quite a famously sort of troubled relationship with his father, because obviously it's David Bowie. So I don't. It's a film I want to read about, but not really watch myself.
Yeah.
It's like all those really terrible comedies you see that are just massively racist or sexist. You want to read about them and about what they represent, but you don't really want to watch them.
Oh, well,
yeah,
good news
that's Warcraft.
We don't have to.
True.
Unless we wish to,
We don't yet live in the Hollywood-run fascist state where we must watch movies.
Exactly. But
It wouldn't be all bad. Speaking of movies that you can watch, the Galway Film Fleadh is starting soon. This weekend, I think it starts tomorrow, which will be yesterday or last week when you hear this. Who knows? Time is fluid. In any case, for all your Galway needs, go to filmireland.net. Oh God, we .com or .net? We're .net, I think.
Yeah, it is
Go
.net.
just Google Film Ireland and look on our website for needs and things about Galway. Reviews. For the day that's in it, Independence Day 2 / Resurgence / another one is out, and cards on the table. I never liked the first one. I saw it when I was about probably the right age to watch it and like it. I was instantly quite bored, never got unbored. I think the speech by Bill Pullman is cheesy and terrible. I think Will Smith punching an alien saying "Welcome to Earth" isn't particularly funny. There's some decent battle sequences. It's from that era of Roland.
Before he changed his name.
Yeah, not sexy enough. From Roland Emmerich, where that era is kind of okay. Like, I like Stargate. I prefer the TV show, but I like Stargate the movie too.
I didn't realise he was involved.
He made that, yeah.
Okay.
Stargate's his. Him and Dean Devlin, yeah. I can understand why people rally around the first Independence Day. Like, it was very important for its era. Like, it did bring in this new idea of what summer blockbusters could be. It was very kind of pioneering in special effects and stuff. There's a lot of kind of quite iconic imagery in it. It's like, I want to say it's 4 hours long. It's probably 2. But there's a million characters. There's so many subplots. They're all irritating.
Yeah.
But if you love the first one, you'll probably like the second one-ish. I hate the first one. I hate the second one a lot more. The first hour is just solid exposition. Every single conversation is just expository, and it's incredibly irritating. So anyway, Will Smith's character is canonically dead because he wouldn't come back for this one because they didn't offer him enough money.
Okay.
I think he was smart not to do so, but that does mean that even though Will Smith's son is in this film, we're still left with Liam Hemsworth for some reason in that role. And he's trying very hard, he's being very sassy, and whatnot. He's insufferable. I couldn't stand him. And also, I love when movies recently try doing this. Pacific Rim did the same thing, where it feigns internationalism despite being very American-centric, to the point... Do you see Pacific Rim?
I didn't know.
Okay. It's all like, here's Idris Elba, he's British, and then there's... Mako was her name, I think? She was cool, and she was like... American man. I can't remember that character's name. I know it was Charlie Hunnam, who's English, but he was American in this and just had the most generic G.I. Joe kind of accent possible. Okay. So he was teamed up with her, and it's all like, oh, look, there's the Russian robot, and there's the American robot, which all runs on gasoline, obviously. The rest of them are all, like, fusion-powered. But then by the end, it's still just Charlie Hunnam on his own, because even his non-American co-pilot gets knocked out during the final battle on his own, like doing the suicide run to save the world. So it's very American-centric, feigning towards internationalism. This is the same thing, where it's Liam Hemsworth, a Chinese pilot, an English pilot, I think, a few women thrown in there for diversity's sake, probably a black person or two. Oh, Will Smith's son was there, yeah. But again, they're all just knocked out by the end so that Liam Hemsworth can shoot the giant alien queen.
Okay, of course.
And it's just...
I'm just wondering now, like, what age is Will Smith's son? Could he not have played that character?
He could have. I mean, they made the right call because he is a charisma vacuum, and I don't love Liam Hemsworth or anything, but at least he tries.
Okay.
But yes, you're entirely right. He could have played that character, but I guess Liam Hemsworth is a bankable star at this point. Yeah. God help us all. Yeah, no, I didn't much care for it. I was very bored for most of it. Like, even the disaster stuff feels very phoned in. Like when the actual thing happens where the ship, because of fake gravity, pulls, I think it's Beijing up and then drops Beijing on London. That looks kind of cool visually for 5 minutes. Ooh. Yeah, but that's it. And again, the big final boss fight chase scene with the alien queen, where she has basically has a health bar on screen. That's kind of amusing from a sort of video gamification of films aspect, but no, I hated it. It's real shit. Okay. Bill Pullman's terrible in it. Oh. He sounds like he's mid-stroke for the entire film, and then he kind of gives a speech again near the end because he has to, I suppose, in his contract, and then just dies very suddenly. In a heroic self-sacrifice isn't even really focused on much. Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't like it. Oh, Jeff Goldblum's in it, I suppose. That's worth mentioning.
He's fine. The president is female this time?
Yes, actually, thank you for mentioning that. Much like the whole, let's pretend we're international, let's pretend we're, progressive, having a female president, she has let's charitably say 20 lines of dialogue and then dies off screen.
Oh, okay.
So that Bill Pullman can show up with his big manky hobo beard, give a speech, and then die heroically. Okay. On screen. Well, kind of.
Does he take over as president again?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, kind of, I suppose. He's
unofficially.
Yeah, go with that. The one thing I will say, subplot-wise, that is the most annoying thing, Jeff Goldblum's, I think at this point we can call racist caricature father, is in the movie, persists being in the movie, ends up driving a school bus full of children cross country through most of the third act for no reason other than that they can have a scene where Jeff Goldblum sees him driving the bus towards him and goes, "Dad?" And that is the payoff for an hour of insufferable Jewishness.
Wow.
He's just such a caricature. It is mind-boggling that this movie feels like it should have been made right after the first one. It feels like a late 90s movie that for some reason we're stuck with now. I mean, there's some interesting stuff in the mythology that they tried to bring in, like a second alien race, that's sort of the good alien race, with all the technology that'll be in the third movie, which they're going to make.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't hear this? No, when they announced this one, they announced a trilogy.
Okay.
So look forward to 4 more years, at least, of this bullshit. Yeah, no, not a lot to say there. It's not good. Actually, even the actress playing Lady President, very bad. Okay. Not good. Did you see Iron Sky, actually?
No.
You didn't see Iron Sky?
No.
This feels like Iron Sky, but without the self-awareness.
Okay.
And, the space Nazis, which are always fun. But, yeah, the old characters are annoying, new characters are annoying, it goes on for too long, it was boring. Don't see it, you already have. Moving on. This has been a very positive episode, I feel, so far. Very life-affirming and full of good times and good vibes. X-Men, I suppose, we'll do next, since you saw that. And I think it's still in cinemas somehow. It's been out for a while.
It will be in cinemas till the end of time, I assume. As all.
Really?
Well, just, that's kind of what happens with superhero movies.
I thought that too, but Civil War left pretty quickly, despite making all of the money, apparently.
All right. It had made all the money. It had done
that is true. It knew its place and left. So, I think X-Men, talking to you especially about this is kind of weird, because when I first knew you, I remember being surprised, Sarah's into comics and stuff, and that's surprising, because you seemed all literary and into real reading books and plays and things like that. And I was like, comics too. But I know X-Men's kind of one of the few you kind of liked for a while, and then subsequently went very much off. Yeah. Which I feel is probably true of most people's view of the films too.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, read they're my favorite comics. Like they were pretty much the superhero comics that I read when I was growing up. Like I read Marvel in general, but they were the ones I focused on. So I love X-Men. I really, really love it.
Good.
I know some people want to like go to Hogwarts. I want to go to Xavier's school and just like be an X-Men. That'd be so cool. And I loved the first two Bryan Singer's movies. I still think they're probably in my top 20 movies.
Really?
I love them. They're so well made.
How recently have you watched them?
I mean, I'd say I probably watch them every couple of years.
Okay, well, all right. Because I don't hate them, but I think they haven't aged brilliantly. The second one, I think, is still pretty solid. Like that's just a good, well-made movie. The first one, it's a little cheesy in places.
Possibly, yeah.
Not as cheesy as this one, but we'll get that in a second. Go on.
I love that they're so human, and I really, really like that. It manages to get across how much the characters care for each other without loads of exposition. Okay. As in the first movie, Wolverine shows that he cares for Rogue by giving her his power and stuff like that. Like that's for me that's like a really, really good way of getting things across in cinema.
Visually through storytelling. Yeah, what is this?
Pretty much. I think they're both great movies. Then The Last Stand came along and it broke my heart, to be honest. And since then it's been 10 years, so I'm okay. Just
you got over it.
But I can't be invested in them anymore. They're like the movies since then. They're silly and they're pretty stupid. They're fine, but I don't think any of them are good at all.
Not even First Class?
No, not really. Oh. It's probably the closest to being good, but I don't think it's any good.
All right, I'll take that. That's fair. So yeah, on the overall ranking, then where does Apocalypse come? Quite near the bottom, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I think Days of Future Past is probably makes less sense. So that would probably second from bottom, maybe.
Oh, hang on, that's worse than Wolverine to you, or X-Men are Wolverine?
Oh no, sorry, I don't even consider them movies. Yeah, sorry.
Do we count Deadpool amongst these movies? I suppose you don't have to.
I don't know.
Did you see Deadpool?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, that's pretty good. Actually, that does my favorite version, I think, of just the X-Men generally, because they're not in it much, but Colossus and what's her name? Negasonic Teenage Warhead. The way they do them is really well done. They're quite fun, and they have, for once they have the actual correct on-screen uniforms.
Okay.
But Apocalypse. I loved it, but I think it's absolute shite. I saw it twice because I had to see it a second time with people that I knew would laugh along with it with me.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make an argument about this that I don't know that most people would agree with, but I feel like it justifies it in my own head. I think X-Men ideally should be at where Civil War is with Marvel movies. I want to see House of M. I want to see the big event X-Men stuff done, because that's really interesting. Like you're saying, they're, in comic-wise at least, they are very human. I remember thinking when I first read the comics, Emma Frost is actually really cool. Emma Frost, cool. Emma Frost is an interesting character, whereas January Jones's version was insufferable and boring.
Yeah.
And I would love to see something like House of M, where you see Wanda going insane and just trying to fix the world through her own force of will. That's all really cool stuff. They'll never be able to do that though, because that would require basically what Marvel did, 10 years of planning, setting the characters up first of all, and then building towards the point where they're known enough to the public that you can make these big sort of character-driven pieces that happen to also be blockbusters. They can never do that though, because they spent 10 years doing kind of basically the same movie over and over again, and the characters are all kind of caricatures now. So shy of a complete reboot, this is what we're stuck with. I'm okay with that, because I feel like X-Men can either be really good drama or hokey as all hell, camp nonsense, which is what this is. It's a big blue man screaming Charles repeatedly while people in dumb costumes do dumb things, making dumb one-liners. I think Oscar Isaacs is wasted in this, completely wasted, and yet I couldn't picture anyone else doing it. He tries so much harder than he needed to. That makeup is awful. It looks terrible in every close-up he's in. You can see it on his face. I think it looks weirdly cheap. That opening, I loved, because it looked like an old 50s serial where it was just what came before doesn't matter, what comes next doesn't matter. This is an entirely new story. Retcon, by the way, this dude lived in Egypt for 2,000 years. Deal with that now. It was great. I loved it so much.
Wow.
Sarah, rebuttal.
In a way, I can't exactly argue Because I don't think you're saying that they're necessarily good movies.
No.
You know?
Okay, First Class is. I love First Class. I know you
fair
hate First Class. I think First Class is genuinely a great film and the best of all these movies.
Okay, well,
We don't agree on that point. I know that.
yeah, like the one reason I can't hate these films as I would like to is because
Yeah.
I laughed like all the way through.
Yeah, exactly, right?
No, like as in, it's so ridiculous. It makes so little sense. You are kind of wondering, is anyone there taking it seriously? Because it doesn't seem like it.
That's the thing. I don't think anyone on set was, apart from Bryan Singer. You get the impression that he thinks he's actually still making this sort of this sort of civil rights movie or something, and it's no.
Oh, yeah, that was a long time ago.
Like, I think even like the real example of how much he's failed dramatically, I think, is Magneto, because they, for reasons unbeknownst to anybody, decided to give him another family that he could live happily ever after with in Poland, which like you can basically see the countdown timer on screen of like tragedy striking in 5, 4. Even the fact that it's the opening from Commando inadvertently, where it's his daughter playing with a deer. It's like, oh, look how idyllic everything is, and like everything's going to go wrong in seconds. And credit where credit's due, that was the most economical tragedy I've ever seen.
True.
They got through so much trauma in like seconds. Like it was literally 2 birds with 1 stone, and that was very dumb. Like a wooden arrow would not do that, but dumb, funny though. And like Michael Fassbender trying to like be serious about this, like it's just I think I am, whatever it says. Like it's like this is bizarre. Really, like Oscar caliber actors screaming like this faux Shakespearean bullshit at the sky while people in spandex run around waving their arm. It's great.
Yeah.
It's so good. And Hugh Jackman's cameo, hilarious, dreadful. I actually will say this one. I've heard people complain about this one being too kind of bloody and cruel and stuff.
Okay.
Which I agree with. It is quite gory for whatever it is, like a 12A. But I feel like these are like walking weapons of mass destruction. They should be dangerous. I like that the Wolverine sequence, even more so than like the R-rated Wolverine sequences in the Wolverine movies, was really bloody. Like when he was walking through that corridor killing people, there was like arterial spray, and like at that post-credits bit when it was them cleaning up all the blood, like that's, yeah, Wolverine is that dangerous. That's how it should look. But then you get to his final moment where he just runs off into the woods and the camera just holds in like a static shot, and it's real funny. There's no score, there's no sound effects. It's just Hugh Jackman like tottering off into the woods. Oh,
that wasn't intended to be in the movie, by the way. That they just caught him one day
in his pants, fleeing the set.
But yeah, actually, I mean, some of what you're saying is probably one of my issues with the movie is that like it is rehashing every plot line that we have seen. Is this the 3rd movie now where we've got the opening scene of Auschwitz with the young Eric Klencher being taken away from his family? It's like it's a brilliant scene. It's like you can't just use it again and again. Like you have to come up with new stuff. That's like part of, you know, making films, is not stealing from other films.
The Auschwitz thing is weird though, because I was waiting for the backlash on this. I'm not sure if it came in the end. But the visual of one, I think, Psylocke standing Auschwitz, dressed like the sort of future cyber hooker she's dressed like. I know that's her costume, and I'm glad they're doing more comic book accurate costumes. But some of them you can't do.
Yeah,
I feel like
they're not for human people to wear. They're for characters. Exactly. That's why, you know.
Such a good statement and very true.
But I mean, that's why what's his name, Henry Cavill is like, no human is supposed to have shoulders that big. Yeah. Don't try. Sorry. But anyway, back to X-Men.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's why I feel like when, you know, Dark Knight Rises was coming out and everyone's like, oh God, Chris Nolan's doing Catwoman. Yeah. Like, he's the most sexist director in Hollywood. 1, how is he the character? 2, what costume will she have? And they kind of found a middle ground, I suppose. It's kind of like a biker costume. But I've always thought X-Men should have been more colourful. And I'm glad, like, I'm looking forward to the next one aesthetically, because that final shot of them all in actual accurate costumes, like, that's kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing like that all in motion. But you get stuff like Psylocke standing in Auschwitz beside poor Oscar Isaacs looking like this giant blue ice cream, talking about, you know, your people were taken for you. Like, it's Auschwitz, you can't do that. And then they destroy Auschwitz.
Yeah,
and I was like, God, you can't do that. Can they do that?
That's like,
that'd be akin to, you know, 50 years from now, a movie where someone's backstory was 9/11, just like obliterating Ground Zero in a fit of rage. Like, can you do that? I don't know that you can.
No,
but there was no real backlash as far as I could see from like the German government or anything. But God, it was a weird movie.
Yeah.
Also, do you find it bemusing that because Jennifer Lawrence is the biggest star on earth at the moment, the last 2 X-Men films have contrived a way to make Mystique the most important character?
Yeah.
When she's not.
That is definitely like the other. That's one of the other things actually that annoys me is like they love Jennifer Lawrence and Magneto.
Yeah, Fassbender.
They love them so much that they just want them to hang around with the X-Men for 90% of the movies, and then in the last 10 minutes they have like a little temper tantrum. And it's like, oh, well, now we will be your enemies in the next movie. Hey, next movie, hey, can we hang around with you for 90% of the movie?
But this one is even weirder than that, though, because at the end of it, Magneto, they're all just pals, despite the fact that he definitely killed at least 1,000 people when he was pulling up all the metal on Earth. Like, you saw, like, the Sydney Opera House and stuff just collapsing. People died.
Yeah.
And then it's just, oh, Charles, good luck at the school. See you around, buddy. You mass murdering lunatic.
No, it's so strange. Obviously, do they care about continuity? No. Obviously not.
Not anymore.
But the original Mystique, Rebecca Romijn, I thought her character was great. She didn't really say very much. She was just
quite kind of foreboding and like really good presence on screen.
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously, you don't have to stick to that, I guess. But as in, that was a great character. And for them to go back and act as though like she was this really emotional teenager who like never knew what to do, and like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense how she would go from that to that.
See, I thought it was fine in First Class because the end of her arc in that movie is the whole Mutant and Proud thing. So she is meant to be okay with herself. I assume they would go towards the X-Men movies then. But what they did instead was just make her Katniss Everdeen, where she's just giving speeches and like she's this reluctant hero of the people. I was like, this is just the Hunger Games. Like, why are you doing this?
Although, did you not think it was weird in First Class that Charles Xavier's just like, oh, go to them? It's like, why? The
very.
script told me to. It makes no sense that he would tell her to join his enemies.
Have you seen the How It Should Have Ended? Yeah, where it's like I can't remember what the line even is now. Just like go to them. Why? I'm only the person that raised you and clothed you and was your friend for 20 years. No, go with them. It's fine. But that was very dumb. That was really dumb.
These movies, they have a template, and it doesn't really matter what the characters do during the film because it's going to end up the same.
Yep. Let's talk about things we liked, I suppose. Right. I thought Nightcrawler was really good.
Yes, that was actually what I was going to say.
And
because I didn't realise it was Cody Smith.
Yeah, no, when I heard that casting, I was like, can't wait for that, because I love him and everything he's in. And he was really good. Like, I love Alan Cummings' version too. I prefer this version. I thought he was really just likeable, and because I especially like the accent can be really grating. I thought it wasn't in the end. I thought before I'd seen it, like that could go either way. Much kind of like I thought, like Yelchin with Chekhov, I guess. In many ways, but if the actor is kind of good enough, and because a lot of those lines are real dopey as well, where he's just kind of a slapstick character almost. But he sold it. Like, Cody Smith McPhee is really good, and give him a spin-off movie or just put him in a TV show, whatever. Just he's better than this.
Yeah.
I actually quite liked Sansa. What's her name?
Okay.
God.
Sophie
Turner, thank you, as Jean Grey. She wasn't amazing, but she was fun, and seeing her go full Phoenix Force at the end was all right. Again, that's another of those points of this is another thing I felt about the movie. Is this too comic booky for its own good? I feel like comic book movies, especially Marvel, have moved away from being comic book movies and are now just other genres with the aesthetic over it. Like, Winter Soldier is like a spy movie. Civil War is just kind of more kind of Jason Bourne-esque sort of global political thing with like the veneer of superheroism. Whereas this movie felt like full on kind of if the 90s had continued superhero movies, where it's all just color and nonsense and jokes and which I didn't mind. Like, it's nice for a break after the likes of Batman, Superman, but it is sort of vacuous and I don't know, it's a bit shit in some ways. But I thought the fact that they didn't explain the Phoenix Force, and if you knew about it and then you suddenly saw her walking on air and going off fire, like, you got it. But if you didn't get it or you didn't know about that, like, would that be incredibly confusing and just dumb? I suppose it would.
And I mean, things like the one of the biggest set pieces, again, Quicksilver's whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like,
no?
Honestly,
okay.
Well, but I mean, like, it is just so ridiculously cartoony.
Yeah.
And it just kind of doesn't really make any sense, you know?
I loved it because I think, again, Evan Peters, they've got a good cast for these movies, I'll say that much. Evan Peters sells it pretty well. He's surprisingly likable for a character who you should want to punch in the face at all times. And actually, even though it is just a rehash of this work in the last one, do it again, but bigger.
Yes.
I still enjoyed it a lot, but I think the mistake is that it's so tone deaf because it comes right after what is argued to be the one dramatic scene in the movie where someone dies and he fails to save them. Then it cuts immediately to the Sweet Dreams Are Made of These and him, you know, saving goldfish and dogs. And it's like, it's fun, but it's so tone deaf and so, I don't know. The point is, I think I'd watch it again, probably more so than most X-Men movies, but it is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And the post-credit scene was the first post-credit scene since, I think, Amazing Spider-Man, where I was like, I have no idea what that means.
Okay.
I know what it is now because someone explained it walking out. But did you get it?
I actually don't. You were saying was it?
Did you even stay for it?
Was it the cleaning up the blood one? What was
yeah, but then at the end, it's like someone collecting like the Weapon X vial, putting it into a suitcase of other vials, and then what's? I know it's Mr. Sinister, is who the character is in the end, but I forget what the suitcase said. Whatever his real name is, don't care. So yeah, on the whole, not a good movie. I would recommend it over Independence Day, but that's not saying much. I suppose, Sarah, in terms of things you didn't care much about,
all right.
What else have you seen of late?
Yes, so I saw The Secret Life of Pets. Louis C.K. plays Max, is the dog who's the main character. He has a great life in New York City, and then when his owner gets a second dog, played by Eric Stonestreet, I think that's his name, from Modern Family. The two of them sort of get into a tussle. They end up losing their way in New York and run into a group of sort of rebellious animals who have forsaken their owners and they want to take over New York. Kevin Hart is sort of
no, sorry, I think it's someone else. Kevin Hart, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the rabbit, the cute but also insane, you know, that kind of typical animal. And yeah, it's about their adventures through New York. So it's not very exciting or fun. What is really good is the animation is great. Everything has a very good weight to it. And even just like shadows and textures, they're all there. They're all really good. The other sort of really good part is New York itself is it's really like nicely idealized. The animals obviously really, really love living there, and it all looks very beautiful. And so that's sort of the draw for that movie would be the animation. But other than that, I wouldn't particularly recommend.
See, that's weird. Like with that cast, especially like Louis C.K. and stuff, you'd think it'd be one of the movies that it's sort of, you know, written for kids but written for adults, and would kind of have the Lego Movie kind of vibe to it. But that sounds really bland.
Yeah, it's funny. Like there really isn't much for adults at all. There's one sequence where I did laugh, which is a turtle has kind of been flipped upside down and is like bouncing from wall to wall. So that's obviously sort of like a Super Mario type thing. Okay, yeah. Which is kind of funny. Right. That was probably one of the best bits. Like the only other sort of adult directed joke was someone was saying, "Oh no, the animals are kind of like drifting across the Hudson River," and they go, "Oh no, they're going towards Brooklyn," and someone says something about like, "Oh, I heard that house prices are really high there," or something, and then someone else is like, "I'm not talking about hipster real estate." It's like, okay, like obviously a child doesn't even know what that means. No, that's adults aren't really very
amusing,
interested.
I suppose. Good job, movie.
Yeah. That's about it.
So worst movie you've seen this month? 12 seems a bit high, even.
Oh yeah, maybe. I mean, also see it if you really like animals. Probably, if you have a pet and you really want to watch a movie with your pet, it might be good.
You poor sad individual. Yeah. Okay. So next up, quickly, Money Monster, which. I didn't really know was coming out or hadn't really heard of, and then I was like, oh, Jodie Foster made a movie. I didn't know she made movies, but she's done twice before apparently. Little Man Tate and something else.
Okay, no, I didn't realise she was.
Yeah, I didn't. This is their third movie she directed. Yeah, I didn't know that this came out. How do you describe the plot of this one? It's sort of a network style thing, but not network, and more like.
Is it sort of also a bit like The Big Short, possibly?
Yeah. Basically, George Clooney plays a person who hosts a finance show,
Yeah.
and it's just him being a bit of an asshole on screen for about 10 minutes, and then Jack O'Connell bursts in with a explosive vest, and once it's meant to be quite satirical and important, and it has things to say. Damn it! If you heard the interviews of Jodie Foster from Cannes, it's sort of amusing how I love Jodie Foster, I really do, but she's in a bit of a bubble, I think. On the one hand, what she was saying, I agree with. Like, it's not often that you get like a female director. It's not often that you get a female director that'll be able to like it wasn't a huge budget movie, but it's a fairly mainstream, like wide release thing with like George Clooney and stuff. And like it's a good thriller, but it's also about things and about the modern world and our current era and finance and computers, and like it is all those things, but it's also kind of fluff. And I suppose to finish the plot quickly. Yeah, George Clooney hosts a thing, and Jack Connell comes in, and then it's all about corporate corruption and the way there's no physical money anymore, and the banks be stealing your money, and then it's all about the New York rising up and the 1%. It's kind of the 1%, I suppose, and the 99%, and that sort of thing. And then it gets a bit overly dramatic and a bit cartoony, and it's sort of a comedy, but also a drama. And I don't know. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it while I was watching it. It's goofy, but. Yeah.
No, I quite enjoyed it. It was funny because I've been talking to I went to see it with my mum, and earlier in the day, she'd actually been saying, it's funny how no one is ever held to account for predictions. The one person who gets a prediction right is remembered and like, oh, that guy predicted that who's going to win the Euros or whatever. But it's like, but everyone who didn't is ignored. So it was kind of interesting that we were literally talking about that on the way to the movie, and then that's what the movie was about. Every day there's thousands of predictions made by people regarding trade and big business, and it's usually the little guy that gets screwed over. If one company tanks suddenly, well, like that's probably his livelihood gone, or I did quite like that it was looking at the fact that big business is really big and insane, and why is there so little accountability? I quite liked that it did address
I like that it tried, yeah. I still feel like when you get to the end of it, though, I suppose, spoilers, if anyone cares about this, it's a bit cheesy.
Yeah,
I couldn't help but think it felt sort of like a 1960s Batman thing, where like they get marched down to City Hall, and then the big bad man has to admit that he lied live on television, and then nothing happens. Like
definitely, yeah.
It felt, I think, a bit sort of. It didn't. What's the only way to describe this? It didn't feel coherent, I guess, in that it was trying to have it had these moments of being quite serious and quite, like you're saying, like about accountability and stuff. And Jack O'Connell, despite just being Tom Hardy, was very good at portraying that kind of rage and the sort of the helplessness you feel if you're on like on the lower economic scale of things. And yes, you got goddamn, what's his name from The Wire? Dominic West, thank you. Just like chewing scenery and basically cackling, and
oh, completely. Yeah.
Then the whole bit when they're walking through New York, and like I actually admired the situation they contrived, where it's Clooney hiding behind the guy with the bomb vest because they're going to shoot Clooney. That was kind of clever and sort of bemusing, but really dumb.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No. I will say I thought Julia Roberts was oddly likable. I usually despise her, and she was surprisingly kind of sympathetic in this movie and quite good and amusing and stuff. But yeah, like it's directed fine.
Yeah,
good job, Jodie, I guess.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Like I wasn't bored. It's tense and when it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's.
I thought actually funny for considering if in that interview she was talking about being a female director or whatever. The one thing that really disappointed me was Dominic West is sort of, as the boss of this company, he's taken down from the inside by one of his PAs who is sleeping with him, but like there was no reason that she had to be at all. Like she could just have been a really hard worker who got high up in her field. And
that's not believable, Sarah.
Apparently not. Like it was such a strange thing where they kind of like, did Dominic West demand that he like have a makeout scene in this movie? Why would it be so unbelievable for a female to be high up in a company and to decide she should do the right thing and expose her boss as the fraud he is?
I guess it is hard for movies. I actually always applaud a movie when it does intentionally not have romance in it, and I think it's hard to not do that sometimes. And this one especially, it didn't have one in terms of Julia Roberts and Clooney, but it felt like it basically did. The whole way through is sort of will they, won't they? And the end is meant to be them being like, all right, boss, all right, person that I'm a co-worker with, let's be friends and eat Chinese food. Sure. But it did feel very much like that's basically your romantic ending. They just didn't say it. And I'm like, you don't need that. And I kind of am annoyed that it's there even. But yeah, I hadn't even thought about what you said until you said it now. But yeah, that's equally shit.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Well, I mean, you can't fix the patriarchy in a day. So thumbs up, Jodie Foster.
Well done. You've done it.
That was the weirdest thing to end a film review on. Yeah, so I guess next up we will talk about... Actually, yeah, you've seen... from one female-directed movie to a possibly not female-directed movie. Was it female-directed?
It was, yes.
Did they direct it themselves?
No. It was... I think her name's Mandy Fletcher is the director. And Jennifer... Yes. And it's written by Jennifer Saunders. So. Yeah. It's, really good movie.
That surprises me, because, I mean, a lot of these TV... especially like 20 years after the fact kind of movies, tend to be terrible because they always have the same formula of let's take the TV show and then bring it abroad.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what they do.
No, that's exactly what they do. I know that from the trailer, but I was like, oh, will this be good? Because I've never seen the show, so I don't. Everyone says the show is great, and I keep hearing surprisingly good things about the movie, but the trailer really did not sell me.
To be fair enough, I really enjoyed it, but I can totally understand people if they didn't, or not even like it's really, really funny. There's just a lot of funny stuff in there. But yeah, I mean, the story is nothing really.
Well, that's not important for comedy, though.
Yeah. So no, but like for my money, it's great fun. One of the great things about it is seeing all these comedic actresses, and a lot of people are playing themselves, like Kate Moss, Lulu.
Lulu's
she's so cute. It's actually great. And Gwendolyn Christie is
cool, okay.
Yeah. Like there's loads of people in it, and it's just even like to see them be like, oh, they're all in a movie together, this is so exciting. It's great because you don't really see, especially like older.
That's very true. That is very true.
Older,
unless they're Helen Mirren or Judi Dench.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone is just obviously having a great time, and I think in particular Joanna Lumley is just amazing as Patsy. There's so many things, but there's one line one thing that stuck with me is the two main characters, Adina and Patsy, they've had their credit cards cut off, and she's trying to say, can we use cash? And she's like, do we have any of that hand money? And it's amazing to see, like, her character is just so cut off, in such an amazing bubble.
Yeah.
And she's such a horrible, horrible character, and also wonderfully enough. And I suspect this is just a happy coincidence. At one stage, she dresses up as a man to marry this dowager, and she looks surprisingly like David Bowie. Oh. It's actually really quite nice. So it's a nice way to. That's near the end of the movie. So it's a nice surprise near the end.
Right. I suppose my only real question would be, how do you think it would play to a non-aficionado of Ab? Like, do you think it relies a lot on that chemistry kind of being known to you, or would it work? Because that line that you said there was quite funny, so I would laugh at that. Do you think the comedy works on its own, or does it require a certain knowledge or familiarity with that kind of chemistry in those characters?
I think there's probably enough there that you could enjoy it without it. I've watched Ab, but I'm not sort of an aficionado either. Maybe having a vague idea might help. But yeah, no, I mean, I think there's enough just standalone lines that you could just enjoy it.
All right, I might go see it then. Cause I hadn't planned seeing it because the trailer really put me off it, but it has been getting a lot more positive feedback than I thought it would. Okay. I just always never trust these TV movies to work. Like, remember Dad's Army came out there a few months ago, and it was like died a death. So yeah. Well, from one quite positive female-led comedy to a not so positive one, I, for some reason, paid money to see The Boss, and I feel like they couldn't release this at the worst time. It's a Melissa McCarthy fronted comedy movie, and it's terrible. I think everyone knows it's terrible, and they got Ghostbusters in a month, and it's all bad. Any movie that ends its grand finale with, oh god, I just said her name, Melissa McCarthy. I almost said Jodie Foster again. Melissa McCarthy having a sword fight with Peter Dinklage on top of a skyscraper Yes, that's the face you should make. It should be better than this, but even that scene is no good. It's okay. Rough plot. Melissa McCarthy plays, I don't even know what it's meant to be. It's one of those jobs that doesn't really exist. Okay. She's like a self-help guru, but one that sells out giant concert halls and just screams and dances and tells them how to make money, and then, I don't know, makes money somehow for herself. And then Dinklage is her former lover / nemesis, who... Okay. Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where it's meant to be funny on the basis that it's Peter Dinklage. It's not inherently funny itself. No. It's because of who it is, you're meant to laugh. But it's not really funny, though. But you're laughing anyway. Oh, God. So anyway, so she loses her money because he gets her put in jail for tax fraud or some shit. Okay. And she gets out and goes back to being friends with Kristen Bell, I want to say, who was her PA and just a single mom about town, and who makes a really nice brownie. And then they decide to... She kind of corporatizes and to an extent radicalizes a Girl Scout troop. To make shit tons of money off these brownies. It's dumb, but it's kind of funnier on paper than it is in practice. And then she gets back to the top, and then Dinklage is like, "Oh, I must destroy other business," and then they have a sword fight, and it's over. Okay. It's real bad. It's not funny. I definitely laughed a few times. There's a couple of moments. Melissa McCarthy, I think, just her presence alone can save a lot. I think her strength as a comedic actress, a comedian indeed, if you will, is strong enough that she can sell even some pretty mediocre material. But it's just so flat and lifeless. It's not even necessarily that the script is bad. The script isn't great, but it's not terrible. But the directing is so lifeless. It's so flat, nothing happens. Every shot is just so static and boring. Again, sword fight, Dinklage, Melissa McCarthy, no good. There's a couple of sequences, sort of funny montage near the end of it describing their plan, and then it just ends with because it's Melissa McCarthy doing the voiceover for it. Well, she describes the plan to Kristen Bell and her boyfriend character, and it's showing it all happening while she's describing it, and then it's the final point of the plan is, and then you suck his dick, to the boyfriend character of a security guard. He's like, whoa, wait, what? And it's the backtrack, and that's pretty funny. So there's funny moments. Okay. Dinklage, I don't know if he got paid too much or not enough for this, because he's being really weird, but it's really kind of phoned in weirdness. He's just being... Kind of picture Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse, but Peter Dinklage. Okay. It's all just this weird, very overly sexual sort of grunting noises, and it's just weird, and I didn't like it. And there's probably a good 4-5 laughs in it. Okay. The first half an hour is quite painful though, because there's a lot of Melissa McCarthy falling down, which is both the most default trope for females in comedies. And overweight people in comedy. And I was like, it's just. I mean, there's a whole gag with her falling down some stairs, and then Dinklage laughing at a video of that happening, which itself is kind of funny to see because he's funny to watch laugh, I suppose. But the situation is not funny, and also Kristen Bell repeatedly for the first half an hour exclaiming how she's a single mother and how tough her life is. These are just so many stereotypes. Okay. It feels like, have you ever watched Kimmy Schmidt? Yeah. It's like if this was an episode of that, it'd be fine. It's kind of tonally on it's tonally on that kind of level with that. Stretch for a full movie doesn't work. Melissa McCarthy can only salvage so much, and if Ghostbusters is anywhere near as bad as this, it'll be a sad time for all. Because it is no good. But moving on from no good to better comedy-ish, maybe. Nice Guys.
It's actually funny. Well, not that funny at all. A point that you made. The whole pantomime bad guy in Money Monster.
Yes.
I kind of feel like The Nice Guys doesn't get away from that either.
Okay.
In a way, it is just a hazard of the trade, or whatever you call it. These kind of scripts can't really get away from the fact that big evil corporations are always going to be big evil corporations. You can't really change that without changing the very fabric of existence. Yeah. In the same way that the end of Money Monsters, hey, look, that guy, bad guy, he's on YouTube and everyone's going to laugh at him for 5 minutes and then they're going to forget and he's going to continue being a billionaire.
Actually, I'm going to say I really like that, because I thought at the end of that movie it was going into the whole, oh, look, we caught him lying on television. Now he has to, go to jail for ever being a bad man. But it didn't. There was no consequence. And they immediately cut to the vines and the sort of the memification of his, his big moment of betrayal to the public. But no one cared. I was like, that's actually really honest and true. I quite like that. But it does sort of, again, undercut the movie. It's like, what was the point of this? Like, what were you trying to say about any of this?
So, yeah.
But sorry, yes, Nice Guys.
I think it is kind of similar in that you can't really take down big business.
No.
I feel like, I think Shane Black here, he was trying to go against the normal tropes, but you can't really in what he's doing. It's a very well-trod formula, and I don't think he really broke from it, personally.
I will say, in terms of his own tropes, though, he held off till the very last minute of the Christmas thing.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, so reveal this at a Christmas. And no, literally the epilogue is like, oh, that's at a Christmas. Okay, good. Well done, Shane Black.
There you go.
I had heard pretty meh things about this before I saw it from yourself and some others. And because I like Ryan Gosling, I kind of have come around to liking Russell Crowe again. And I like Shane Black generally. The trailer didn't look amazing, but it looked fine. And I'll admit, for the first, I'd say, half an hour of this, I was pretty not on board. It was reminding me of Inherent Vice, but I thought Inherent Vice was funnier and weirder, and despite ostensibly being a more serious movie, was having more fun with itself, whereas this one felt very, I don't know, just kind of shit. But once it hit that big party scene, pretty much till the end, I was on board. I think it didn't find its energy for a while, which I guess is probably a lot of problems with these kind of movies where you have to introduce two characters and make them friends. That's the thing. It struck me like this felt like a prequel to a pre-existing series.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for.
Oh, really?
I think there might be. I think there's talk of like it becoming a TV show.
Cause it just felt like a prequel to something that already existed. Like it felt like we should know who these people are, and when you get to the end of them setting up their titular agency and stuff, it's like that as a payoff feels like it's a payoff if you knew that going in. The whole thing felt like it was set up to a thing that didn't exist. And that was, I think that's why the first half an hour you dragged for me. But once Kim Basinger showed up, and once the actual thrust of the plot got going, I thought it was well above average action comedy. Like I think the action scenes were good. Like Shane Black, obviously an action director, so like very well shot and edited. Like that whole last hotel sort of run through when it's just Ryan Gosling sort of bumbling his way through his entire sequence. That was really like kinetic visually, but also very funny. And I think the comedy definitely worked after a while. Gosling was great. I think once he found his sort of energy in it, he was great. Like I just think his screaming never got unfunny. His genuine physical presence was always good. The daughter character was also good. Russell Crowe was fine. I didn't hate him. He was frightening, as he always is, as a human being in real life too. And I thought they played each other fairly well. I don't know if there was enough chemistry there that it felt like the way it's being advertised, like, oh, it's Crowe, it's Gosling. Ooh. I was like, they're good together. They're not like great together, but on the whole, I'd say it's well above average. And I think, if you can kind of go with it after a while, I've seen much less funny action movies, or much less funny kind of action comedies, and much less well done action in action comedies. I'd say it's probably on the par of like Pineapple Express, something like that, where it's because that movie has that ridiculous action scene at the end, which is quite well done for the movie it's in, and I was like, that's surprising. So yeah.
Fair enough.
I sense a but coming or a no.
Well, actually, Pineapple Express is one of my favorite movies.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh no, I've truly offended you now.
No, don't worry. But it's just it would be hard for this to live up to that.
No, okay, that's fair.
I did realize actually why Crowe and Gosling work together so well.
Yeah.
They're both birds. I'd never thought of that before. I only realized it today. Okay. So I've been holding that in all day. I got it out. I'm happy. I kind of think that I laughed at it and I thought it was funny, but afterwards it was just the inconsistencies and the things that didn't work that stuck with me.
Go on.
As soon as the two of them started working together, there was no conflict between them anymore. And I kind of felt like they can't trust each other this well. They don't know each other. They will literally stab each other in the back if they get more money to do it. Or at least they don't know that the other one won't.
I can't fault that logic on like a screenwriting level, but I feel like I would have gotten bored with that if that had been like the running thread had been, do they trust each other? I think the fact that I just got over that really fast helped it, because then the comedy then came from what situations they were in rather than just them themselves not trust. I don't know. But that kind of again feeds into the whole idea that I'm saying, like it feels like a prequel to something else.
Yeah.
Like once they're friends, they're friends.
Yeah.
I can't fault what you're saying.
That is kind of weird, actually. Yeah.
because they were still, there wasn't conflict per se, but they were still differentiated enough in my head. Like Gosling was always going to be the psychopath, and then Crowe was always the one that kind of was weirdly warm towards certain things and people.
Crowe was also the one who sometimes just like smashed someone's head in. So
yeah, no, they're both psychopaths. That's yeah, I'm not saying they're not, but I think Gosling was the more deranged one / outright alcoholic, whereas Crowe was repeatedly kind of slightly more moral, or he showed actual concern for human beings now and again.
See, that's the thing. I think that they were really interchangeable because, like, you have that part where Ryan Gosling is like apologizing to the woman for taking her money and stuff. So it's kind of like to me, they just kind of switched personas for whenever it suited the story. To me, they weren't. They were just kind of like a weird amalgamation of one person just in two bodies. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Then there was just stuff that didn't make sense really to me. Stuff like, I mean, I suppose some of it's nitpicky, but you know the sequence where Ryan Gosling hallucinates or falls asleep and there's a bee in the car.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I don't even necessarily mind that, but there was no explanation as to why that happened.
Yeah, no, that was a full-on like stoner comedy moment that didn't need to be in the film. I still liked that it was there because it was funny, but I know what you mean. Like it's completely contextless.
Yeah,
and just...
but the other thing is, like, I mean, it was only there so that they'd crash, so that the
money,
the suitcase would open and the money would pop out. So it's like, that's just a funny but really lazy segue into furthering the plot. I honestly wouldn't even have minded so much if they'd explained why any of that happened. Like,
had he even spiked or something? I feel like there was drugs involved.
But I mean, weren't they driving to they'd come from Kim Basinger's office, and were they driving to a party or something? Like, I don't think they were at a party.
I can't honestly tell you. Yeah, no idea. Okay, can't follow that argument. I still thought that was funny, but yeah, no, it's a non sequitur. So she was wasted too, actually, Kim Basinger. Like, when I saw her name in the crowd, I was like, oh, cool, but she didn't really do anything.
No, she didn't. And someone was pointing out as well, like, you never believed she wasn't evil. There wasn't sort of enough doubt in there. I
wasn't fully sure, like, right off the bat, but it was, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if they'd given her more to do, maybe she would have become a more kind of interesting character. But they didn't.
How do you feel about the way that it, because it was set in the 70s, I feel like it intentionally kept in the grit of the 70s, despite being ostensibly a much softer movie, like with, I thought the opening was really strange. Just when the car comes, and then it's like the naked woman, and like, that was really weird. Yeah. It was very exploitation-y and bizarre. And equally weird that they had the kid from Iron Man 3 in the house. I guess that's because he's probably friends with Shane Black at this point. But that was really weird. And then when main MacGuffin character gets shot dead suddenly, I kind of liked that because I thought, again, like it's keeping in the grittiness of the 70s, but it feels a little off with the rest of it.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't know, I still like that they did it, but it doesn't necessarily work. I don't know, it's weird. It's very strange.
No, I mean, it did take me a while to figure out what had happened with the opening sequence in particular, because I was kind of like, okay, did this happen in one of the main characters' pasts?
Yes, exactly. Was it a dream? Because of the way
was it a dream?
Because of the logic of it, where he sees the photograph of her naked and then sees her actually naked like the day. Like, that was a dream, right? And like, no, that actually happened. Okay.
No, it was very strange. I don't know that it was quite the way to start the movie. But
no, it put me off it very quickly and continued to do so. But then I think the slapstick was just like, I'm a big fan of well done slapstick. I think Gosling especially just did really good slapstick in this movie, and I couldn't really say mad at it then, especially once that party happened and, like, you know, falls off the balcony and then finds a dead body and then it's just sort of can't scream, and all that was really funny. And the one shot that I absolutely loved the most was when they're going up to the penthouse to rescue the chick, and then the hitman's already there, so they get back in the elevator again, and then as they're going down, just the static shot of just the guy being thrown from the window, and that was hilarious.
That was very good.
They never explained how she got down from that building. She just fought onto their car and then was fine.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I know Shane Black isn't sort of particularly renowned for writing good female characters, but like, that was
they were numerous at least.
They were. But,
there were 2 kids, at least 3 women that were probably named.
I did kind of feel like making the sort of the token kid into a girl. I thought that was cheating a bit, you know.
How so?
Kids are just kids. They don't have gender, you know. If you actually wanted a female character in them, it basically just gets out or allows them to avoid interacting with the kind of women that they actually would.
Do you think? Because I feel like there's a lot of bits when she was talking to prostitutes and stuff. And hang on, what are we talking about?
Oh no, I just mean like the fact that one of the sort of main characters was female, but was a girl. It means like, oh, we don't actually have to have any properly fleshed out female women in the movie.
Are we talking about the daughter, or
Yeah.
wait, Kim Basinger's daughter, or his daughter?
Oh no, his daughter.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't think it. Okay, I actually know what you mean now. I kind of got your point now. But yeah, like, the gender wasn't important, so having her on screen doesn't really change.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I kind of like that they sort of, I don't know, gender blinded the generic kid character. But
yeah, no, I mean that was kind of positive, but at the same time, and actually to be fair, I thought that Anguri Rice, I think was her name. I thought she did a really good job because I think if someone not as talented had played it, I would have hated that character so much.
I think that could be a Shane Black thing, because I thought the same with Iron Man 3, whereas like that character could have been insufferable, but they cast it well and he played up Downey Jr. really well. And again, like that character in this movie, she should have been lost amongst Gosling and Crowe, and yet she kind of held her own on screen really well. So I think it's just a combination of good casting, good directing, I guess. But yeah, I agree. There's been a lot of recent years where kid characters have been kind of okay.
Yeah,
they're usually insufferable, but I think they finally got it in recent years to do it. But yeah, I like the fact that there were scenes where she was just hanging out with prostitutes and watching hardcore pornography. Like, that's funny.
Yeah, no, it was good. Like, I think the main problem with sort of the direction in relation to her was she was far too capable.
Yeah, that's always a problem with kid characters.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it was even more so in this one. Like, do you remember this in particular? There's a scene when they're back at Ryan Gosling's house and the
hitman guy shows up.
The hitman guy comes along. For some reason, we leave where Holly, the daughter, has the gun. He's there, and then we just cut to he's walking outside,
thrown through a window. Yeah,
yeah, but it's sort of like, well, why? How did he get away? What happened there? Seems like she would have defended herself rather than just let him walk
I think
away.
even a line of dialogue explaining that she wasn't ready to kill someone would have been fine.
Maybe,
but I think you're right. Yeah, like it's not really. Yeah, she's too capable, so they just cut away, so they don't explain it. I think I follow that. That's actually true.
So yeah, no, it was stuff like that made me kind of feel, for whatever reason, Shane Black doesn't want to stray too much from the sort of blueprint of what buddy cop movies are. And I think that kind of held it back. But I mean, it's not bad. It just means it wasn't great. It was just good for me anyway.
Yeah, like my prevailing thought afterwards was that was definitely above average. But I suppose that doesn't make it great either. So yeah, I still think I'd recommend it to most people. Like it's a solid comedy. There was a lot to laugh at, but I sort of agree that something. If it wasn't for the aesthetic and the overall style of it, it wouldn't really stand out for any reason. It would just be another buddy cop movie. I guess again, like it's who's in it and what it looks like. That's the selling point. Because it is just an lethal weapon, basically, which is fine. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But that is a fair point. I cannot fault your logic. So I still think it's better than most films that we've talked about so far today. So I think we just have one more left to do, which is
Love and Friendship.
Love and Friendship, which absolutely was not a film I'd intended seeing. Because I hadn't heard anything about it. I'd seen the posters. I thought, okay, Kate Beckinsale, who I don't mind, in a Jane Austen movie called Love and Friendship. I assumed it was going to be some sort of, because again, we had this argument like at a party last week that Jane Austen, I've never read Jane Austen, any of it. So I guess I'm conditioned by the sort of the cultural view of Jane Austen as being this very, oh, Mr. Darcy, and the shrimp and the Barbie, no.
Why not?
Oh, the canapes will be ruined. Like I assumed Jane Austen was all just that kind of shit. Like I didn't think she just wrote that, but I feel like a lot of probably quite important cultural analysis comes from her novels and her short stories. But I feel like she probably writes about a very particular thing, and that very particular thing is just these high class people having these, to my mind, boring romances. You corrected me saying no, a lot of her stuff's quite satirical and funny, and I didn't know that, and I thought this was kind of like maybe a one off kind of thing, because people generally think of Jane Austen as the whole Mr. Darcy thing and just romance and. Sort of Romeo and Juliet kind of forbidden love in the upper classes sort of thing. Whereas, this is what I think is bad with this movie, is that the title is so generic.
Sure, yeah.
It's so awful, and it doesn't convey the fact that this is really quite a good comedy and it's really witty. That's why I think the original title, which is Madame...
I think it's Lady Susan?
Lady Susan, sorry,
Yeah.
yes. Is much better, I think, because I think if I had a movie called Lady Susan, like, well, that's why is she the title character? Why is she important? Whereas Love and Friendship is just such a bland goddamn title. But yes, I suppose. Oh, what is the plot?
Well, yeah, sorry, just
Yeah,
I was thinking about that since we were talking about it last week, and I kind of thought, well, as well as sort of being like maybe more of a sort of a nice title, maybe people would go thinking, oh, that sounds nice, but also like the something and something is what Austen is known for.
That's true. That's very true.
So possibly it was just like put something in a something and something. People will think of Pride and Prejudice, and
because it is the name of one of her other books, isn't it, or something, or it's a short story or something.
Yeah.
But that was the point of, because again, from the people that I know that have studied Austen, like Lady Susan as a novella, the reason it sort of stands out is because it is sort of outside the rest of her canon. Like, it doesn't really fit the rest of them, which is why the title is probably different. And but no, your title, like, marketing wise, very sensible title to go with, because it's the double barrel thing, and also not double barrel, whatever you call that. But also it sounds like a Jane Austen thing in terms of what people think of as Jane Austen. It sounds like a Jane Austen story.
Yeah.
But I still think people that wouldn't otherwise have seen this, that should have seen this, would avoid it for the same reason I almost did.
Oh, yeah.
But
right.
all that said in mind, it's about the non-titular character, played by Kate Beckinsale, who is, as someone described to me, basically the female version of Mycroft Holmes, but with more sort of marrying for convenience and just general sort of low-level Machiavellian planning toward her own financial future. I can't really describe the plot beyond that, because I kind of got lost in the myriad of romances and backstabbings and whatnot, and the interplay. Actually, the opening put me off this, because the opening is just this list of characters. I was like, do I have to remember all these people? Oh, Jesus. But I think I laughed so much throughout this movie. I think I hate saying this, but it was really quite delightful. It was just nice to watch. Yes. Because I saw it like a matinee screening, and it was like full of old people.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh no. I was like, oh, I kind of see the appeal of this. This was really nice. Because Kate Beckinsale, who I always think deserves better than she gets, because I know her mainly from Underworld movies. They're not good, but she's fine in them. But this is, I think, one of her definitely better performances. She has a lot to do with this. A lot of fun with this one. I didn't ever peg her as having like comedic chops, but she can definitely deliver a good, funny line. Though I think in terms of comedy, what's his face totally sold this.
Oh, Tom Bennett.
What was the character name? Sir James?
Yes, Sir James Martin.
Yes, maybe.
That's his name. Yeah.
He was hilarious.
Yeah,
That's another character, like the kid character in Nice Guys, that I should have hated. That should have been insufferable.
Okay.
Like his awkward attempt at small talk. Somehow, absolutely hilarious. Like in actual tears of laughter.
Actually, he had me wondering, did people not know what peas were at some stage? Because this is one of his...
Or the 10 Commandments, that there were 10 of them.
But well, I mean, one of the scenes he is eating dinner at a table and he's going, oh, these green balls are very interesting. What are they? I mean, like maybe in the 1790s, people didn't know what peas were.
I feel like they did because of the sheer incredulous disgust everyone else at the table shows towards him as they're explaining to them that they are a toddler. I think they knew what it was, but that was it was so good. I think Stephen Fry shouldn't have bothered being in this.
No, well, yeah.
It's a name on a poster, nothing else. He's not really in it. He doesn't have any good lines. He's just there. I didn't love the casting of what's her face either. Our American friend,
Chloe
Savini. Yes, because I like Chloe Savini too. I just thought she was a bit weird in this, because she's a very intense actress.
I know what you mean.
And it didn't really work for me. She's still good in it. I just think she didn't play off Beckinsale as she could have, I guess. But Beckinsale was great. I'm glad she's finally getting it, because she's like, I hate saying this, she's pushing into being an older actress at this point. Like, she must be in her mid-40s by now, I'd say. And you don't get many roles past your mid-30s, as most actors will tell you these days. So it's nice seeing her getting a leading role, almost a title role, but they changed her name. And I think I wouldn't be against her getting an Oscar nomination for this one. I think she was pretty good. She's pretty good. It was all pretty good. I mean, I suppose, would you call this an accurate representation of Austen's oeuvre generally?
It seems like to me. I mean, I haven't read Lady Susan in particular. The reason I got into reading Austen in the first place was I remember reading an article talking about how basically when you get down to it, what she's writing is different mating strategies.
Okay.
That was sort of particularly the woman's job back. What they did in sort of the ballrooms, their gossip and making tapestries or playing music, whatever, like that was their way of getting a husband. This was life or death for them. So it was actually, rather than being sort of frivolity, it's actually very serious business. Looking at Austin from that point of view, I just think it's really, really interesting. So,
that's a good way to sell to someone, actually. And also, that's exactly what this movie was about. Like, Kate Beckinsale is very much, like, especially with her daughter, she's trying to sell her daughter on marrying whoever just for financial, like, safety. And it is very much played like life or death. So that's, even though it's, like, amidst this sort of farce-like narrative. Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, okay.
This is my thoughts on it, is that in a year that we're sort of exploring what counts as horror, I think this could be like my horror movie of the summer.
Okay, go on.
Well, just thinking about, you know, any kind of classic horror character, Jason or Michael Myers or something, except for that she's inside the community rather than outside. Basically, like, the whole movie is her using other people as pawns to get where she wants. And then at the end of the movie, she's married, so she's got her money, she's pregnant with the Antichrist. Like, let's not mess around. Like, that is what is about to happen. Like, she's also, like, she's ruined so many lives along the way.
Yeah, she has.
But the other thing is, like, it's like there's nothing anyone can do. She's won.
I still wouldn't quite go as far as saying horror, but now that you say, so there are several scenes of people when she's not in the room, when they're talking about her. I guess if there was different score over that, or if you just took those scenes in isolation, they're kind of describing like a natural disaster, just kind of brushes through their house and ruins everything.
Yeah.
And like it's almost like a war, actually, because they're talking about like how it's stealing their sons. And now that you say it, I guess she's kind of this weird, horrifying force of nature that ruins families. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be definitely pushing out the definition of what horror is, but like I just came out of it thinking like that was the worst ending that was the most terrifying ending you could have. Everyone is worse for what has happened. She has won, and it's.
I'm okay with her winning. Like I think it's back to again like the whole thing of me saying I want to see Cersei win now. I really like sort of morally corrupt women in power. I think it's narratively very interesting, and I always root for them. I always want them to win.
Oh yeah.
But that's kind of why I love Catwoman and stuff. I actually felt like she was very quite Selena Kyle-esque in the way she just socially manipulated things. Like, I was happy she won. Like if someone else had, like if one of some man had won, I would have really annoyed that. Like if Stephen Fry had sort of, well, he kind of did win, I suppose, in a way. But
yeah, I suppose that's the other thing. The men are always going to win anyway. So yeah, she just won out of the women. It's a bit sad. Was that in this? No, that was Penny Dreadful. Sorry, I think of where there's the suffragette movement kind of happens in the show, and then someone just stops it and goes, "It's going to be dead in 10 years, so just give up on your dreams." Basically, was that in this movie? No, it wasn't. But there was a similar kind of sentiment of just basically getting your back and deal with it. But you're still winning because you're not doing it for love. They think you are, but you're doing it just for financial security. So I think it's pretty bleak, I suppose. But I still like that she won, and I like that she likes that she won. Like she doesn't seem upset or annoyed that she's married to this idiot and pregnant with his, apparently hellish, Oh yeah, well, it's the other guys.
Oh, you're right, it was. Yes, I felt that.
So yeah, no, and I mean, have you seen him? He's definitely Satan. It's like there's no way he's not. Evil eyebrows and everything.
What is your backup for this? Oh, he was the guy at the start that gets the one funny subtitle, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, all you see of him is him just like looking really evil about 3 times in the movie. I don't think he says a word.
I think you're right. But I thoroughly, it's probably gone into it now, but I thoroughly enjoyed Love and Friendship. I did not think I would. I suppose out of that list of movies, what is your best and worst?
I'd say worst would probably be Apocalypse.
Okay. I can't really argue with that.
Yeah, and probably Love and Friendship would be my best. So yeah. What about you?
Worst. I want to say Apocalypse 2, but I also kind of want to say Independence Day.
You can give a joint.
See, I had more fun with Apocalypse,
sure,
but I'm not necessarily convinced that it's a better made movie. I feel like it's Independence Day is just so bland, though. For sure, bland, I'll give it to that. For best, though, I suppose it has to be Love and Friendship. Yeah, probably has to be Love and Friendship.
There we go. It's official.
I mean, I will say, if it's still in cinemas, go see Eye in the Sky. I didn't review it here, but I didn't get a chance to the last few episodes, and it's really good. But other than Eye in the Sky, which we didn't talk about at all, go see Love and Friendship if it's still there. If that's not still there, I suppose The Nice Guys isn't like a bad one to see. It's good fun. Absolutely. Would you rate Ab Fab higher than it though?
I don't know. They're probably similar, to be honest. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, Ab Fab was so funny, but it was also pretty lightweight. You know, like as in.
Yeah, but like a comedy's goal is to be funny, so it's funny. It's kind of won, hasn't it?
I suppose so. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I would rate it above. It sort of depends what you want to see, I guess.
Yeah. Well, in any case, by the next recording date, we'll hopefully have finally seen Ghostbusters, and everyone can just shut the fuck up about it. God willing, it won't be worse than The Boss, or indeed its own title song. So until then, don't let women boast.
Yeah,
bust ghosts.
Yeah, definitely not.
Words are hard, names are hard.
That's it.
I've been horrible, Flarble, joined by blah blah blah. This has been the Fliv Larland podcast.